Hey Riley, are you ready for a story? How about 3 stories? We'll do 3 stories tonight. Okay? So, first, we have Neon Leon. And then we have a book called, oh, sorry Riley, Eyes That Kiss in Corners. And then, look down there. That's right. We have almost the last chapter of the Boxcar Children. So here we go. Let's start with Neon Leon. Wow, that is a bright chameleon. I guess that's why they call him Neon. Neon Leon. Words by Clarke and pictures by Britta Teckentrup. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of neon. And down there, what's that? Look, it's Leon's eye. You can't see him because he's a chameleon. Neon Leon. Leon is a chameleon. He's in this picture. Which chameleon do you think is Leon? Chameleons can change their color to match their surroundings. Where do you think the chameleons are going? Let's turn the page and find out. Did you find Leon? Of course! Look at him! He's so neon! Look how bright he is, neon orange. The chameleons are in a leafy jungle. They all turn green. They match. They're hard to spot, aren't they? Do you see them? Hiding there and there and there. Look, that chameleon's matched to that plant. Chameleon's there. Where is Leon? He's right there. You can't miss him. What do you think will happen when the chameleons go to a sandy desert? Yes, they match. The chameleons have all turned yellow. Well, all except for Leon. He's still orange. Let's see if Leon can do any better than the big gray Rocky Mountains. Can you help him this time? Tell Leon what color he should turn. Remember, we're going to the big gray Rocky Mountains. So what color should Leon turn? Tell him. He should turn gray, right? I don't think he can hear you. Can you say it louder? Gray! You gotta turn gray, Leon. Gray, gray, gray. Here we go. All the chameleons are hidden among the rocks. They match. But has Leon changed color? Oh, nope. He's still very orange. Poor Leon. Maybe he'll feel better after a good night's sleep in the jungle. Let's say, "Good night, Leon," and softly turn the page. We'll say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Good night, Leon. Oh dear. He's so bright, he's keeping all the other chameleons awake. What a lot of grumpy chameleons. And Leon looks very sad. Oh, sorry, Leon. Where's Leon going now? Do you think he's looking for somewhere he can fit in? Oh my goodness. Look! He's found the perfect place already. Everyone here is orange, just like Leon. He matches. But oh no, the birds are flying up, up, up into the bright blue sky. Maybe they've gone to find something to eat. Oh, and now Leon doesn't fit in anymore. Okay, whisper. Don't worry, Leon. Everything will be okay. But what's that over there in the corner of the page? What is that? Could it be something? What is that? Orange? Hurry, Leon. Oh, but Leon can't walk very fast, can he? Because he's a chameleon. We'd better give him a bit of time. Let's count to 10, then turn the page. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn the page. At last, Leon found a place he can fit in. All the flowers are orange. And look, Leon's happy. Let's all clap our hands and smile, smile, smile with him. My hands are full, so you have to clap for me. Yay! But there's one thing that could make Leon even happier. Can you guess what that is? What's missing from Leon's life right now? That's right, Leon's found a friend. Can you spot them both? It's the perfect match. The end. What a great book. Hey, Riley, you want to read the second book with us? Well, she's still skittish from when I hit her snoot with the book. Sorry, Riley. This next book is called Eyes That Kiss in the Corners. Words by Joann Ho and illustrated by Dung Ho. Pretty butterfly, pretty flower, eyes that kiss in corners. Oh my goodness. That's so pretty. There's her house. Some people have eyes like sapphire lagoons, with lashes like lace trim on ball gowns sweeping their cheeks as they twirl. Big, long eyelashes. Not me. I have eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea. My eyes are just like Mama's. Mama's eyes that kiss in corners and glow like warm tea crinkle into crescent moons when she comes home from work. She scoops me in her arms, eyes sparkling like starlight, and tickles me until we laugh ourselves onto the floor. When Mama tucks me in at night, her eyes tell me I'm a miracle. In those moments when she's all mine, flecks of dancing gold tell me I'm hers too. My Mama is my sun and sky, and her eyes are just like Ama's. Oh, look, in the window. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Amma's eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea don't work like they used to. But she sees all the way to my heart and can even read my mind. Her eyes are filled with so many stories. I can fall inside them and swim until time stops. I see Guanyin, the Monkey King, sitting on a lotus, serene. Baubles of lychee on trees and mountains that reach for the sea. Tweet, tweet. My Amma never ages, and her eyes are just like Mei's. Mei's eyes that kiss in corners and glow like warm tea blink against the window until I come home from school. They disappear beneath her two-toothed smile when I walk in the door. She toddles after me, gazing up at me like I am her best present. I hope she looks at me like that forever, because when she looks at me in that Mei way, I feel like I can fly. Mei's eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea are just like mine. My eyes crinkle into crescent moons and sparkle like the stars. Gold flecks dance and twirl while stories whirl in their oolong pools, carrying tales of the past and hope for the future. My eyes find mountains that rise ahead and look up when others shut down. My lashes curve like the swords of warriors, and through them I see kingdoms in the clouds. My eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea are a revolution. They are Mama and Amma and Mei. They are me, and they are beautiful. End. We are almost finished with the Boxcar children. We are on chapter XII. That's 12. The X is 10 and each I is a 1. 10 plus 1 plus 1 is 12. James Henry and Henry James. In the last chapter, Violet got sick, and the doctor looked at her and took her to his house and made her better again. And the man here came to the doctor's house looking for his kids, and I think he's the Boxcar children's grandfather that they were all afraid of, and he's found them. So, let's put you down. You can look at Riley while I read to you. Oh, you can't. Riley's sleepy. All right, Riley. Ready? It's not working real well, is it?
Okay, Riley, here we go. Chapter 12, James Henry and Henry James. Dr. Moore went to get his mother. Mother, he said, this is Mr. James Henry Alden. He wants to take his grandchildren to live with him. I'm afraid they won't want to go with you, said Mrs. Moore, until they learn to like you. They won't want to go while Violet is so sick. Can't I see them? Begged Mr. Alden. I won't tell them who I am. That would help, agreed the doctor. If they grow to like you before they know who you are, things will be easier. Yes, said Mrs. Moore. Stay here with us for a while. The children will learn to like you, and then we can tell them that you are their grandfather. Thank you, said Mr. Alden. I will go home and get some clothes and come back, and I will give you the $5,000. But Dr. Moore would not take the money. I just want these children to be happy, he said. When Mary learned that she was to cook for Mr. Alden, she was frightened. How can I cook for him, she cried. He has everything. He is a very rich man. You can cook for anyone, said Dr. Moore kindly. Just get one of your good chicken dinners and make some cherry dumplings. At dinner, Mr. Alden saw all his grandchildren, but Violet. He smiled with delight when he saw Jessie come into the room in her quiet way. Children, said Mrs. Moore, this is Mr. Henry. Benny laughed. Henry and Mr. Henry, he remarked. That is funny. Henry shook hands with Mr. Alden before he sat down at the table. Where have I seen that man before? He thought. The children liked to hear Mr. Henry talk. He told them about a big cucumber in his garden. The cucumber was growing inside a bottle, and he couldn't get it out. Why not? Asked Benny. It's too big, said Mr. Alden. How did it get in? Asked Benny. It was a little cucumber when it went in, said Mr. Alden. A cucumber will grow just the same in a bottle. It will grow so big you can't get it out. I'd like to see the cucumber, said Benny, stopping in the middle of his cherry dumpling. Would you really? Asked Mr. Alden, delighted. Someday you and I will go over and pick it. And we can bring it to Violet, said Benny. Yes, we'll bring it to Violet, agreed Mr. Alden. Henry thought again. Where have I seen it before? I wish I could remember. He could not remember, but he liked Mr. Alden very much. All the children liked him because he was kind to them. At last, one day, Mr. Alden could see Violet and went softly into her room with some beautiful flowers from his garden. The children loved him when he patted Violet's dark head and told her that he was sorry she'd been sick. He told her, too, about his garden, where the flowers came from. I'd like to see your garden, said Violet. I love flowers. How long are you going to stay, Mr. Henry? Asked Benny. Shh, Benny, said Jessie. I want to stay as long as I can, my boy. Henry looked at the man again. He knew he had heard him say my boy before. Now, where was it? He could not remember. After dinner, Mr. Alden sat under a tree reading. Henry was working in the flower garden in front of the house. He looked at Mr. Alden again and again. Suddenly it came to him as the man smiled over his book. It is the same man who gave me the $25 prize and the silver cup, he said to himself. I didn't remember him at first because I was so excited that he shook hands with me. He took another look and said again, it's the very same man. Henry sat thinking for a little while. Then he got up and went to find Dr. Moore. Do you know who gave me the prize on field day? He asked the doctor. Do you know what his name was? James Alden at the mills, he replied the doctor. J.H. Alden, over at Greenfield. He did not look at Henry while he was saying it. Poor Henry was so surprised he almost fell over. That kind man, his grandfather? He went out and sat on the steps to think it over. To begin with, this man was too young. Henry had thought of his grandfather as being an old man with white hair, and Mrs. Moore called him Mr. Henry. Could it be that the man knew he was their grandfather and hadn't told them? Then he saw that Mr. Alden was getting out of his chair under the trees. It's now or never, thought Henry. I have to know. He walked eagerly after the man who was going toward the garden with his back to Henry. Then the man turned around and saw how excited Henry was. Are you James Henry Alden of Greenfield? Henry asked. I am, my boy, replied Mr. Alden with a smile. Does that mean you know that I know you are Henry James Alden? Yes, said Henry quietly. Then James Henry Alden shook hands again. Henry James Alden. Jesse and Benny came across the grass just in time to hear Benny say, excuse me, to hear Henry say, "My grandfather." "Grandfather?" cried Jesse. "What do you mean, Henry?" "Yes, Jesse," said Henry eagerly. "He's the man we've been running away from this whole time." "I thought you were old," said Benny, "and cross. Jesse said so." "I didn't know, Benny," said Jesse, her face was red, "to think of running away from this kind man." But her grandfather did not seem to mind. He patted her on the head and said, "Let's go up and see Violet." There was no stopping Benny. He hurried into Violet's room, holding Mr. Alden by the hand and shouting, "It's Grandfather, Violet, and he isn't cross after all." "What do you mean?" asked Violet. "Isn't he Mr. Henry?" "My name is James Henry Alden," replied her grandfather. "And my name is Henry James Alden," cried Henry. "Well, well," said Dr. Moore. Violet held on to her grandfather's hand and listened to the rest talking excitedly. "Where have you been living?" asked Mr. Alden at last. They all looked at each other, even Dr. Moore and his mother. Then they all laughed as if they would never stop. "You just ought to see," said Dr. Moore. "What?" cried all the children at once. "You never saw it in the daytime." "Is that so?" laughed the doctor. "I have seen it many times in the daytime." "Seen what?" asked Mr. Alden. "Our house," said Jessie. "We've been living in a boxcar in the woods." Then they all began to tell him about the dump and the dishes and the brook and the swimming pool. "They have 4 beds of pine needles in the car," said Dr. Moore. "How do you know?" asked Jessie. "Well," said Dr. Moore, "the first day Henry worked for me, I walked after him as far as the hill." "Why did you do that?" asked Mr. Alden. "I liked him. I saw he was a fine boy, and I wanted to see where he lived." "But you can't see the boxcar from the hill," said Jessie. "No, but I came back that night and looked around," said Dr. Moore. "About 10 o'clock!" cried Jessie. "Yes," said the doctor. "I stepped on a stick, and you heard me." "A rabbit!" cried Jessie and Henry. "Watch barked." "Yes, I heard the dog bark, so I knew you were in the boxcar. Then I went home." "But you came back?" asked Jessie. "Oh, yes. When you were picking cherries, I went up to see your house. I wanted to see if you had enough to eat and enough dishes." "Did you tell me?" asked Mr. Alden. "Didn't you know they were my grandchildren?" The doctor laughed. "Yes, I did. But they were having such a fine time that I didn't want to tell. They got along very well until Violet got sick. Then I told you." "Glad you did," said Mr. Alden. "I've seen your house, too," said Mrs. Moore. "I went up one day and saw all your dishes. I liked your big pitcher and teapot." "All of you have seen it but me," said Mr. Alden. "We'll show it to you," cried Benny. "I'll show you my cart made out of wheels and my pink cup." "Good for you, Benny," said his grandfather, much pleased. "When Violet gets better, we'll all go up there. You will show me your house. I'll show you my house." "Do you have a house?" asked Benny in surprise. "Yes. You can live there with me if you like it. I've been looking for you children for a long time." Violet was soon well again, and one afternoon they all started out to see the boxcar. The doctor took them in his car. Many people looked out of their windows to watch Mr. Alden and his grandchildren. They were glad that the children had found such a kind grandfather at last. When they arrived at their old home, they ran around, all talking excitedly. Watch sniffed and sniffed all around, looking for the bone he'd buried. Everything was the same. "Here's the dam for the pool," said Henry to his grandfather. "See our building?" shouted Benny, for that was what he called the fireplace. "It really burns, too, and this is the refrigerator and the waterfall, and here is my pink cup." They all stepped on the stump and climbed into the car. They looked at the 4 beds and the dishes. "Here's the same old pitcher and teapot," said Jessie, laughing. They found the blue tablecloth, and they all sat down by the brook and ate chicken, bread, and butter, and cookies. Benny drank milk from his pink cup. "Come, we ought to go now," said Dr. Moore at last. "The sun is going down. I don't want to get Violet to take any more cold." They closed the boxcar door and said goodbye. They were all sorry to go. "Tomorrow," said Mr. Alden, "will you, all of you, come to see my house?" "Oh, yes," cried the children happily. They did not know what a beautiful house it was. Good times they were going to have. that is the end of almost the last chapter. One more chapter to go. Hey, Riley, did you like the story? Riley, do you like the story? Whatever. She just wants to go back to sleep.
But I hope you like the story. Should we sing our song? Okay. Practice waving like this, and like this, and like this. And now stick out your fist, and your pointy finger, and your pinky finger, and your thumb, and this says, I love you. You ready? I love you. Goodbye. I love you. Goodbye. I love you. I love you. I love you. Goodbye. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.